Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into a story that challenges, well, everything you might think about fatherhood and family.
Yeah, it's about how being a father isn't always about biology. It can be forged, through presence, commitment, pure, unconditional love.
Even when you're hit with like the deepest betrayal imaginable.
Exactly. And our source for this is it's a really raw personal story from the YouTube channel Stories That Cut Deep. The title says it all. She lied about the baby being mine, and I raised him for years.
So our mission here is to unpack all those layers. Trust, identity, what family even means when, the fundamental truth you built your life on just collapses.
It's an incredible look at resilience, really, how someone navigates that kind of shattering revelation.
And the hook, it's right there. This sacred bond, this father-son connection, built over years.
And underneath it all, this cruel hidden lie just waiting to unravel everything. It really makes you question what holds things together.
Okay, so let's dive in. Meet Vikram. He's a 28-year-old business analyst living his life.
And he meets Niha, a freelance graphic designer. It happened through mutual friends, a weekend trip away. He mentioned she had this real spark.
Yeah, he was drawn to her. And things got serious pretty quickly, it seems.
And then comes the moment that changes everything. Niha, in her apartment, tells him, "Vikram, I'm pregnant."
Wow, just like that. And his first reaction?
He admits it plainly. He felt, "I am not ready to be a dad." Like, not even close.
But he didn't run.
No, he saw her vulnerability, maybe felt the weight of it all, and just said, "I'm with you, we'll figure this out."
That's quite a commitment right off the bat.
Yeah.
Especially feeling unprepared. What does that tell us?
It tells you a lot about his character, I think. Responsibility, empathy maybe over his own immediate comfort or, plans. It wasn't instinct, it was a choice.
A very conscious choice.
Definitely. And that choice, well, it set everything in motion. The next few months were a whirlwind. Doctor's appointments, shopping for baby stuff.
He mentions painting the nursery sky blue himself. He wasn't just, passively involved.
Not at all. He was actively building this identity, his identity as a father, even before the baby arrived. He was all in.
And then Arv is born, a rainy August morning. Vikram holds him.
And he just cries, whispers, "I've got you, little man."
They named him Arv. It means peaceful. Which, given everything, wow.
It's incredibly poignant, isn't it? The irony. But from that moment, Vikram was Appa. Not just dad, but Appa.
He really embraced it all, didn't he? The late nights, the diapers.
All of it. The 2 a.m. feedings, the fevers, the giggles. He said something really profound. "I didn't just love Arv. I belonged to him."
Belonged to him. That's powerful.
And Niha apparently seemed grateful back then, saying things like, "You're going to be such a good father."
And he never doubted, never questioned if Arv was his.
Never. Not once. People even said Arv looked a bit like him, his eyes apparently, so the thought just, it didn't enter his mind. That trust is key here.
Arv became his everything. Work promotions, hanging out with friends, it all kind of faded into the background.
He was the priority. His joy, his reason to be better, as he put it.
But then there's that ominous line he shared. Sometimes the story you're living isn't the real story.
Yeah. Sometimes you're playing a part in someone else's lie. Chilling, really.
And he lived that lie, unknowingly, for 5 whole years.
5 years. Building his life on this secret foundation. Arv's 5 now. Talkative, asking about dinosaurs, the moon.
And they had their rituals. Like reading the Gruffalo every night?
Those little things, they matter so much, don't they? It's that consistent showing up. That's real parenting.
Oh, yeah, the rituals. He mentioned Sunday Pancake Day.
Flour everywhere. Sneaking chocolate chips. Sounds familiar.
Huh. And Friday park runs. Just simple, everyday stuff. But that's where the bonds form, right? Not in grand gestures.
Exactly. It's the architecture of intimacy. Those thousands of small, repetitive acts. I'm here. You matter. That builds something incredibly strong, stronger perhaps than biology alone.
And Arv calling him Appa. That's a specific word.
Yeah, not dad or Baba, Appa. Vikram said when he first heard it, all his earlier anxieties just melted away. It cemented him.
It became his name, his identity in that relationship.
Absolutely. It made his chosen fatherhood completely real for him. It wasn't stepping up anymore. It was just being.
But things weren't perfect with Niha during this time.
No. Her freelance work was apparently unstable, so the financial weight fell mainly on Vikram.
He took on more work, right? Promotions, side gigs?
Yeah, trying to provide. And he noticed Niha pulling away, becoming distant, sometimes cold.
He'd snap at him.
Occasionally. He remembers her saying something like, "You wanted to be super dad, didn't you? So be it." Ouch.
Wow. But Arv was still his focus.
Completely. His anchor. There's this touching story he tells, coming home exhausted, just wiped out.
Yeah.
And little Arv climbs onto his lap and says, "Appa, you forgot to smile today."
Oh, man. Straight through the heart.
Vikram said it gutted him. But in a good way, it just shifted everything instantly. Back to joy. Kids do that, don't they?
They really do. He also taught Arv to ride his bike.
Yeah. In the apartment parking lot, running alongside, holding the seat.
In that moment, Arv finally got it. Appa, I'm doing it.
Vikram cheering like crazy. Those moments, those 5 years, they felt completely real to him.
And that's the point, isn't it? His lived experience was genuine fatherhood. Holding hands, bath time songs, packing the school bag.
He poured himself into it. Never imagined Arv wasn't biologically his. His identity was solid.
Until it wasn't. Until the crack appeared.
And it appeared suddenly. A chaotic Thursday afternoon. Vikram's in a client meeting.
Phone blowing up.
Yeah, calls, then a text. Dr. Anita from Hopewell Hospital. "Your son has been admitted. Please call us back immediately."
Just absolute panic.
Pure, hollow fear, he said. Rushing to the hospital, seeing Arv, small, pale, hooked up to machines.
Terrible. And Niha!
She was there, but standing back, like a statue, he described it. Not rushing to Arv, not looking at Vikram.
Which he barely noticed then in his panic.
Right. Hindsight makes it glaring, though. The doctor mentioned needing blood samples from both parents.
Right, what was the issue?
They suspected an enzyme deficiency, something potentially genetic, so they needed to compare.
And Vikram agreed immediately.
Of course, anything for Arv. He just sat by his side for hours. Appa is here.
And the next morning, the doctor calls him aside.
He's expecting news about Arv's condition. Instead, the doctor drops the bomb.
The genetic markers don't match.
"You're not a biological match. You're not his biological father."
Oh my God. How do you even react to that?
He said he sort of laughed, like an awkward, disbelieving laugh, then just numbness, a ringing sound in his ears.
Looking at Arv, suddenly different.
So familiar, so mine, and yet suddenly a stranger. His words. It's an impossible thing to process, an identity crisis on a massive scale.
He goes out, sees Niha.
And he just knew. Looking at her, he realized she already knew. She'd known the whole time.
The drive home must have been surreal.
Silent. Arv humming in the back, completely unaware, later that night after Arv was asleep.
He asks her, "Is it true?"
And she just says softly, "Yes, it's true."
Even knowing he needed proof, didn't he? The DNA test.
Yeah, that need for something concrete, undeniable, even when you already know the devastating answer.
So they do the test, trying to act normal for Arv.
And a week later, the email comes. Stark. Clinical. Undeniable.
Probability of paternity, 0%.
0. He felt like 5 years of his truth, his life, had been stolen. Not just paternity, but his history.
So the big question then is, why? Why did she lie?
He had to ask. He called her, they met at a cafe, just asked her straight out, "Why didn't you tell me?"
And her explanation.
It's complicated. She admitted she wasn't sure at first. There was someone else, Ritesh, briefly, before Vikram got serious.
So she chose Vikram's stability.
Essentially, yes. He was stable, kind, reliable. She wanted that life, she said. She knew for sure when Arv was born, saw the resemblance wasn't there, the eyes, a dimple.
But she couldn't ruin that moment when Vikram held Arv, called him Little Prince.
That's what she said, didn't have the heart. It's complex to see the desperation, maybe.
A desperation for a certain kind of life, yeah. Built on a lie. She felt like a fraud.
Deeply. Like a fraud, but also intensely grateful that Vikram was such a good father. The kind of father Arv deserved. She called herself a coward.
For Vikram, it was betrayal, pure and simple.
Yeah.
But also mourning.
Mourning the life he thought was real. That's a really insightful way to put it. A kind of grief.
And the biological father, Ritesh.
Turns out he moved to Singapore years ago. Niha doesn't even know if he knows or if he'd care. Which leaves Vikram completely alone in this, essentially.
And Niha pleads with him, right? Don't punish Arv.
Yeah. Arv loves you, you're his world. Please don't punish him for my mistake.
Basically putting all the responsibility back onto Vikram.
What a position to be in. How did he decide what to do next?
He describes a sleepless night, asking himself, was I still his father even though I wasn't his dad? That distinction is crucial.
And he approached it, logically.
Like the business analyst he is, made a list of options, cut ties, pretend nothing happened, joint custody, tell Arv later.
And he chose joint custody. Circled option 3. Talk to a lawyer. Figure out joint custody. Reclaim his own life, yes, but without abandoning Arv. That structured thinking in the middle of chaos is fascinating.
It's a coping mechanism, maybe. Turning it into a problem to solve.
Could be. He talked to a lawyer friend, then told Niha, I'm moving out, but I want shared custody.
Asserting his rights, his connection.
Absolutely. He's still my son. You don't get to take that from me. They worked out a co-parenting agreement through mediation, specific days, weekends.
And decided not to tell Arv yet.
Right. Too young. That's a bridge they'd cross later. This was about preserving the relationship Vikram had built.
He found a new place.
A small flat. He mentions Arv's first night there, saying, I like this place, but it's a little quiet without Mom.
Oof. Heartbreaking.
Yeah. But Vikram's thought, this wasn't the life I imagined, but it was still a life worth fighting for. He wasn't giving up.
Which brings us to now, 2 years later.
2 years on. Arv is 7, taller, louder, into dinosaurs and Marvel, still calls Vikram Appa.
That bond held.
Seems unbreakable, but the big question still hangs there, doesn't it? What happens when Arv finds out the truth?
Vikram thinks about it daily.
Yeah. He knows he can't lie forever. When Arv is old enough, he'll tell him. But he's determined Arv won't feel like he was born of a mistake.
Because for Vikram,
He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. That's pure unconditional love speaking, overriding everything else.
how are things with Niha now?
Civil.
Yeah.
Functional co-parenting. Not close, but not enemies. They found a rhythm. He says he doesn't hate her anymore.
He chose Arv over the anger.
Exactly. Holding on to Arv, not the past. It shows incredible maturity, really. Forgiveness, or maybe just letting go for the child's sake.
There was a recent incident, wasn't there? A fight?
Yes, the broken laptop incident.
Right.
Arv broke it accidentally. Vikram lost his temper, yelled.
Which happens.
Totally. But then guilt. He went to apologize. And Arv asks him tearfully, even if I mess up again.
And Vikram's response.
Just perfect. That's
Yeah.
fatherhood, isn't it?
Wow.
Lord.
That says it all.
It really encapsulates his whole evolved understanding. It's not DNA, not birth certificates, not hospital forms.
It's being there.
Being there, over and over, through the mess, the noise, the everyday ordinary. That's fatherhood. That's what he embodies.
The future's still got unknowns. Ritesh might appear. Arv might want to find him someday.
And Vikram says he won't stop him, but he'll be right there, standing right there beside him like I always have, unwavering.
It really drives home his final point.
That fatherhood isn't just given, it's earned, and whatever biology says.
In Arv's heart and mind, Vikram is Appa. Always.
Always.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, I mean, the core takeaway is just incredibly powerful, isn't it? The real essence of family, of being a father, it can absolutely transcend biology.
It's built on choice, on presence, on a love that doesn't quit, even when the foundations are rocked by deception.
This story really forces you to rethink those conventional ideas about family, doesn't it? It shows the sheer strength needed to build and keep those bonds when the truth is so incredibly painful.
Absolutely. The strength to choose love over biology, over betrayal.
So the final thought we want to leave you with is this. How does Vikram's story change your understanding of what makes a family? If love and commitment can redefine something as fundamental as paternity.
What other truths about our own relationships, our own lives might we be overlooking or maybe misinterpreting? Something to think about.